Welcome. We have an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4090 Founders Edition. In this episode, we will unbox the 4090 FE and perform testing to obtain thermal, power, acoustic, and performance results with the stock air cooler. We will lower and raise the power limit, undervolt and overclock the card. We will then perform a teardown by removing the PCB from the cooler and then disassembly the cooler itself. Then we will end with a look at the PCB and cooler parts. This is the Vector Network, and let's begin. The GeForce RTX 4090 Founders Edition is equipped with NVIDIA's ADA flagship AD102 4nm graphics processor and the 20+3 GPU and memory VRM architecture and 24GB of GDDR6X memory. The box lifts up, and the 4090 is right on top. Let's grab the card and place it aside for now. Underneath, there is a cardboard divider, and then we could pull out the cable and document box. Flipping it over and then opening the box, we have the installation guide and reading material, and also the required 12-volt high-power quad 8-pin to 16-pin power adapter cable. The 4090 FE features a dual-axial flow-through thermal design and utilizes two 115mm fans in the push-pull configuration. Let's drop the card in our test system. To obtain the results, 3D Mark Speedway stress test was run 3 times, and the averages were obtained across the 3 runs on our open-air test bench with ambient room temperatures at 21 degrees Celsius. For 100% power limit stock thermals, the GPU core temperature rose 31 degrees Celsius from an idle 32 to 63 degrees Celsius under load. The GPU memory temperature rose 40 degrees Celsius from an idle 36 to 76 degrees Celsius under load. Lowering the power limit to 70%, the GPU core and memory temperatures were 6 and 7 degrees Celsius lower respectively compared to 100% power limit. Undervolting the card to 0.95 milliwatts and adding 200 MHz to the core to arrive at the targeted 2735 MHz core clock, the GPU core and memory temperatures were 4 and 5 degrees Celsius lower respectively compared to 100% power limit. With only 3 out of 4 8-pin cables connected, power limit remains at 100% or 450 watts. So let's use a 12-volt high-power C-Sonic cable mod 16-pin to 2x8-pin power cable. With the power limit unlocked and increasing it to 130%, the GPU core and memory temperatures were approximately the same, respectively, compared to 100% power limit. Overclocking by adding 200 MHz to the core and 800 MHz to the memory clock, the GPU core and memory temperatures rose 2 and 1 degrees Celsius, respectively, compared to 100% power limit. The 100% power limit is at 450 watts. Reducing the power limit to 80% reduces the wattage from 420 at 93% to 355 at 79%, a 65 watt or 15% reduction. 100% fan speed is at 2660 RPM. At stock, the fan ran at 40% and 43 decibels was recorded at a distance of 100 centimeters. Frames per second was recorded during 3D Mark Speedway stress test. At stock, the FPS was 98. And at 80% power limit, the FPS was 95, a 3 FPS or 3% reduction. At 130% power limit and overclock, the FPS was 103, an increase of 5 FPS or 5% compared to 100% power limit. The 4090 is approximately 31 centimeters long by 14 centimeters wide, requires 3 PCIe slots at 6 centimeters tall, and weighs nearly 2,200 grams. Stay tuned as the teardown is coming up right now. The teardown begins with a small notch above the I/O bracket with the latch. Once pressed, lift up the back cover to reveal 2 sets of 4 screws. To remove the metal backplate, there are 4 Torx T5 screws to remove on the PCB side. Next to the backplate, and next to the exhaust pull fan, there are 4 Phillips head screws to remove. Then we can lift up and remove the metal backplate with thermal pads still attached. The 3-slot I/O bracket is next with 7 Torx T8 screws. The card supports up to 4 monitors using 3 DisplayPort 1.4a ports and 1 HDMI 2.1a port. Next, remove the cable for the backside exhaust fan, and the cable for the RGB lighting, and the cable for the front side intake fan. After that, there are 4 Torx T6 screws surrounding the GPU to remove in a crisscross pattern to alleviate pressure and tension more evenly. Now we can lift the PCB up and away from the cooler. Set aside the PCB and we'll continue the teardown by removing the plastic lining guide and then 2 Phillips head screws and the 2 metal ribs. After that, we have the 115mm 12-volt Nidec backside pull fan and 4 Phillips head screws to remove. Flipping the card over, we have another fan in the same size but in an intake push configuration and another set of 4 Phillips head screws to remove. The next step requires depressing a top retention spring and 2 side springs before removing the heatsink from the main frame. Lift up and remove the black heatsink. The 3 latches are near the edges of the exhaust fan side, and the main frame houses the RGB lighting module. Thermal pads are 1.5mm for the VRM, 2mm for the memory, and 2mm for the backplate. The RTX 4090 Founders Edition has a 20-phase GPU and 3-phase memory VRM design with components used rated for 70 amps of current each. The 4090 comes with 24GB of GDDR6X Micron memory chips, all on the front side with 2GB modules. The 4090's power architecture meets the PCIe Gen 5 standard with the 12+4-pin ATX 12-volt high-power connector. The 4090 utilizes NVIDIA's 3rd generation of RTX Ada CUDA core, 3rd generation RT cores, 4th generation Tensor cores, and the new optical flow accelerator OFA. The 4090 is equipped with DLSS 3, which has all the features of DLSS 2 and AI super resolution, but now also with AI frame generation. AI frame generation for the 4090 requires the use of the OFA. Stay tuned for upcoming episodes as the plan is to install a water block on this Founders Edition 4090 and then install it into a water-cooled PC build. Like the video by clicking the like button. If this is your first time here, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. This is the Vector Network. Please click on the bell for notification when the next episode airs. Click on the links here for more videos, including one dedicated to the studio that produces this content. Thank you, and I'll see you at the next episode.